Same way, you that the leaders from one of the documents, both of you that direct labor cost and direct cost and something. Others total sales, some total cost last year. Okay. And with respect to the revenue, prices, one of the
It automatically changes.
Hey, good morning.
Hey,
Hey, good morning, everyone.
good morning.
Hey, thank you for taking this Sunday morning for attending this event. And for those who are quite new to MPUG, I'm going to take the next 2 minutes to talk about what MPUG is and what we have been doing. So NPUG stands for Microsoft Project User Group, and we do have our head office in US. And to give you a backdrop, MPUG's vision is more about promoting project management through Project Online and Microsoft Project, and along with other related products. And they do two parts to how they do this community outreach. One is through online, and other is through face-to-face events like chapter events like this. And we are actually an extension of MPUG, where in our local communities we do these events. And we started doing these events since 2013. And every month we do a 3 hours or 4 hours event specifically focusing on project management through Project Online and Microsoft Project. So starting from this year, we are more focusing on a theme-based approach, which means that every quarter we take a particular theme, like collaboration, governance, reporting, visualization, and so that we are able to give an in-depth idea about how you can start using it. So, but these events are with a small difference. One is it's not a lecture; it's a lot of hands-on is required, and that's why we strongly recommend you to practice as our speakers talks about how you might need to do it, and please challenge yourself so that you go beyond what you know about that particular product, so that you can make it better. And secondly, MPUG is an REP, registered education provider from PMI, which means all our events carry PDUs. So at the end of this event, you will be receiving a feedback email, and so that you are able to record your feedback, and we'll also be providing you some additional reference materials on this particular topic, so that you can go ahead and browse, and you are free to contact our speakers so that they'll be able to help you out on how you can make it much better. So without taking much of his time, I'm going to invite Prasanna. So let's give an applause to him. Okay, so Prasanna is going to be here for the next few hours, talking about Project Online as well as with Power BI. But more than Project Online, today's event is going to be more about getting started with Power BI so that you're able to visualize your data in a much better way. So over to you, Prasanna.
Thank you. Very good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I appreciate your time for coming today. So I could see many new faces like getting an involvement into today's event. Today, what we are going to focus down is for Power BI product. And more onto this product, we are going to explore and report using that respective tool. So we'll just begin with some informative slides. So something just a simple rules that we collaborate one among the other. So we can see that everybody is having their individual laptops. So definitely you'll be also practicing all those contents what we are having in today's subject. And more we need to ask questions, and related to today's subject, it will be a more question formative. So definitely you will be getting into more than that. And at the end of the event, definitely we'll be trying to learn something new, and so that we can communicate to one another. And today's session will be focused more onto the reporting part. And when I say Power BI, it's like an ocean. There are various subjects within that system. So we are going to focus more onto a reporting structure and how we do a basic from the Excel to Power BI. These are key topics that we are going to discuss today. Very simple one, something like initially I just wanted to make sure about the interface comfortability to everyone. So let us focus on the interface. And follow with that, we'll try to get some information and do some cleaning of the information and then produce some reports. So that's what is our agenda mainly that we'll be focusing on. I guess so we are all connected with your internet connectivity now. If you have any problems, you can actually. What I just request is that you can just have a note of this link as of now, so that now the further sessions, further slides and further explanations, we just move on with alongside with me, but after a certain time, you just have to download some file from this link. So I'm sure you just note down this.
It's O or S?
It's
Sorry, zero.
OS. It's not zero. OS.
So you wanted to download
We'll guide you when you should be downloading that.
Just check those things.
Yeah. Please. Let's move further. So just to begin with the Power BI, by the term of overview of what it is, whether it is a planning tool or what it can do compared to another system, or whatever we are having it in a day-to-day of tools. So Power BI is just a visualizations product, which has a greater capability to visualize the data what you are having it, and also to share the reports. So that's the main part of Power BI into today's market. And why Power BI is necessary? Because we have been into Excel for a long time. So there are a lot of questions also, or the discussions in the blogs are still existing whether we should ignore or we should come away from the Excel reporting and follow up to the Power BI, or what is the future is only about the Power BI. The answer for that is that it depends upon the requirement. Because we don't want to ignore the Excel. Excel is good in some instances, but Power BI is greater in some of the listed points what you can see. To say that, the first point, what you can just note it down is that you can connect your data anywhere, and whatever the data source it could be. We can easily make a connection using Power BI. And then we can prepare some of the models related to the data, and then we can provide advanced analytics also with the Power BI. And also, when it comes to the reporting or visualizations, there are some connectivity among the data. So we actually needed some interactiveness among the reports. So that interactiveness is possible with the Power BI desktop. So holistically, just to have a clear idea about this, at this situation, why Power BI, or whether you should be ignoring about the Excel, the answer is that it's totally dependent upon your requirement. If you are having a huge amount of data set and it's going to be only an entry of visuals or the data sets of the values, then you can find have an Excel with it. But when it is a requirement to analyze about what is the profit margin and what is the way that report has to be published, or high level of dashboards is required, that's where the Power BI is going to be a more productive part of it. So we'll just before getting into more technical stuff of the Power BI, let's make it very simple and understandable. So we have tried something in a puzzle in a day-to-day of time. In an earlier time. So what actually we are doing it is that when we have puzzles in this way, we are just connecting that and we are getting an output from that. So the connection, what we are making it, is what we are also having a concept for the Power BI. So the data will be existing where you are bringing it into it, and we are connecting the information, and we are getting it as a report for the Power BI. And to make it more practicality or day-to-day of information, when you get into some location point of it, I don't know whether you have thought about it, but some may have thought about it. Just for a first instance, if you see here, we have a grocery stores. So when you get into a grocery stores, what we can think about is that there are a lot of products in that grocery store. And there is a cashier point where the regular data is upcoming. So what is the product is moving out from that store. So what time that is happening? There are certain products in a year of time, I can do an analysis in which month that the product has been moved a lot from that store. And to my second point, something common into an entry into a mall, we get an alert like car parking is full. So now I'm in a situation that I wanted to, as a mall owner or something, we need to take a decision like what way I can do an alternative for that. So I can do analysis like what is the traffic time of entry, a huge amount of cars is getting into a mall at the respective time. So I need a data information which is traveling across the time. So everywhere, data exists everywhere. That's where is the point here. If you note it down, this is actually a code that we'll be seeing up in the end of our event today. But if it is one of any location where we are in, we can see that data exists and data moves on. So when we bring into a data, we can understand about what we wanted to visualize it first. That's where our thinking process should be starting. So in Power BI, we are just doing with 3 simple steps. We are connecting to a data, we are modeling that, and exploring the data. This is common and this is fixed one for any of the information what you are going to do. It could be through Excel, it could be of any data source, but it can be connected, any 100 numbers of data sources can be connected. That's where the advantages of Power BI is differential. And once you bring into a picture of data and modeling, so you'll be getting into an understanding about how we can collaborate it, how we can publish it to another people within your organization. That's why more informative with the Power BI. So very first thing what a Power BI as a step we are going to do is that to get a data. So when I say getting a data, it could be from a local mission what you are having it, or it could be from any of the data sources from a web or any data sources which are online also. So what we are going to do, focus more down here is that we're going to clean and format that data, because whatever is necessary as a report is that what we wanted to segregate. We don't want a huge amount of data to exist in our data. So this plays a huge role, like cleaning and formatting, where we have it in the Power BI desktop. And that's true in a simple way. We'll be focusing that also. So what are some of the ways is that you can split and renaming or changing the data types of what it is, a text or a date, or it's about a duration information. So we can have that formatting information. And we can create the relationships also one among the other columns. So we can have a custom columns added up into that. A general overview, I mean, to get into an idea about how the interface looks of the Power BI. If we take a look at up here, we have a ribbon over here at the top, which is very similar and easier to maneuver for multiple tabs and work on. On to our left, what you can observe here is the report view, where whatever the reports we are producing it is going to display as at this point. Right. And then onto a third point, we can create multiple pages of report. There can be need of location basis of reports, or there can be necessary of where this cannot be fit into a single page. You can have a multiple pages into that, and you can have an index at the one page also. So moreover, into a visualization aspect, it is pages are being worked on. And then one of the important part that where many people like to work on, and more interesting part is that visualizations, because it is just an exploration about what we wanted to view the data as a visual. So it's moreover on understanding about what is to be delivered as a report, and also very important that what visualizations we are taking depending upon the data. We'll see that in very detail also. And lastly, we have the field table, which means that whatever we are having as a content, we have brought it into a model, into a Power BI, will be listed out as fields. So where we can have a report from there. So without any wait, we will just start up with how to connect the data, right? And then follow with that, we are going to transform and clean the information about what is to be produced. And then we are going to create the visuals and then share the reports with them. First, initially, we will just observe about the interface, and then we'll see how the connecting data will be starting from there. Okay.
So you want them to download?
Yeah. Meantime, they can just click.
So you have provided a link.
I'll just guide you on that. If you
So
observe.
it's not that I think. Can I have that link, please?
Yes, I will show.
Make sure that you're connected to the net. Partly you can use the event code there.
Yeah.
On the whiteboard.
Yeah, it's so here. use that to connect it. And this is the link over which there will be files. What we would like to do now is that you can download this Excel file. I think if you have this Power BI installed already into your machine, you can ignore this. You can just download this XLS file and this logo also in your local machine. Yes. This one.
So is everyone able to get that link? Will give them a minute?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Download everything work.
So it's slow. Network is slow. Shall we share it in pen drive? So network is slow.
Only those two files, right?
Yeah, just the two files, Excel file and image.
You have this file somewhere else.
He has a okay.
Yeah. What about those?
No, I didn't. Everybody download? If you need connectivity backup, let me know.
This download.
Yes, this is download.
This one.
You can click on the individual files and click on download. Because we don't download the photos. Just download the external files from the data. So just click. This one here.
That's hands on. So you're fine with this, you got it, yeah. Um, Even though if your software is not installed, it's not a problem. We can continue with that. But one thing, what we can now proceed with that, you can just open the Excel file what we have shared with you, and I'm just going to explain you what we are going to do for the event now. So this is actually an Excel file where the financial data information is being provided for us, and you can also see it there could be a row of 700 rows will be there, and various columns what we can observe it here. And for the first instance, that any of the data or the columns or the informations or the files what you are having it's going to be the same process if it is from Excel to a Power BI. So we are going to understand about this respective file and how we can bring it to Power BI, and that not directly into a visuals, but how we can clean the data. Because I can observe seeing that I want some of the top rows which has to be reduced, deleted, and some information which is not necessary for my reporting, I can filter that in the Power BI. So that is a main point which we want to be ensuring to be having data. So for that, I can also seeing it here, the data, what we are having it, we should be understanding about the data first, because not blindly about the columns or the rows we wanted to work. But the information, what it is that it is having a country wise of information, and the data is completely related to the sales. To make it very simple, that we are having some segment wises of some segregation information from the data, and their respective sales values and their prices, and it has occurred in some respective months and that respective date also. That is the date listing out over here. And if you just observe seeing it, the year, it scrolls on to 2013 and 2014 information. Don't discard this about 7 or 3 rows which we are having it. Could you be able to share your instances if this is the file in your real time of what you are having it in a day-to-day? How can you do this for the visual? What is the need or requirement that we can have it from this data? For example, I can just say it in the later stage, but just share your moments that what is that you can visualize from the data, that what I can achieve through the reporting.
month-wise, so units.
Great.
Country is doing better.
Great.
Segment is doing better. Where do we get the most maximum revenue?
Yes. So somewhat your understanding about the data, what we are having it as a report, we are trying to achieve that. And what would be the analysis or the decision-making information that I can take? Suppose I wanted to compare and analyze is what product has been in a higher instance of sales. It's one instance scenario. Another scenario, I can forecast something for the next year of sales from the data what we are having. So generically, we wanted to make it ensure that any of your file of Excels would be having it in this pattern or this formats. How we can model that in the Power BI and execute it. But I hope you're all clear with the understanding about the data, what we are presently having it, so that we can get to know about what is the information we are going to do. So there are going to be some sequential steps, not mandatory steps are there, but more over to the related information of for our requirement. So for our, we will be covering about with the Power BI in the part of cleaning and transformation. But just before beginning with our data information, we will understand about the Power BI interface first. So once you have been installed with the Power BI desktop, you all know aware about that it's a free versions throughout available. So every month the update is be there for the Power BI desktop. So instantly you can download that from the website. So we have seen the presentation also about the panels and everything part of here. This is actually called as a report view, what we are observing it over here. And to the bottom, we have a pages and the visualizations over it, onto our right. So we need some information which are not presently available here to be visible. So to do that, we have a ribbons to understand what it is. So first, initially, if I observe it in the Home tab, we can see that where the connectivity can be made. Let me just make. If you observe in here, we have a complete set of information like what is an external data that we can connect to a Power BI desktop. And then some inserting informations and also some of the things that we can do with the report view of it. Right? I'm just shifting over to another tab here. This is something like a view information, is what you wanted to observe in the report tab of the view. Sometimes if I just wanted to have a grid line to place the reporting portlets, I can have that grid lining selected over here. It's just to have a man over about the interface, what we are going to see. And also the modeling part. So majorly, all these tabs, what it has is that information related to the reporting part of it. So very first step, what we are going to do here is that to get a data from here. So to get a data, I'm just selecting get data information selection here. And over there, I can just go to more options. Now here is the page that you can observe seeing it. There are various sources that are available in the Power BI get data page through which you can connect to the data. There are also some categorization based like database, Azure, online services, and other sources also. The purpose here, now what I'm going to do is that through an Excel, we are going to connect the data. So I'm just making a selection of Excel and hitting an option of connect. Now this asks me where the respective location of file it is. I'm just selecting the same file what we have shared to you. We're going to explore it from there. So I've just selected the file here and hitting on open. Now what it does is that your Excel file is being showing you the preview of the file, what you have been connecting from your local machine. So what I can see is that the complete worksheets will be your first row item, what it is. But over to the below, there will be number of sheets if you are having it. All the list of sheets will be at the bottom. So to view that sheet, I can just select that sheet. I can view it onto my right. It's just a preview of data. It's not a complete 700 rows which you can observe it. All right. So, but as I said, that the initial step when it comes with the modeling, we need to clean the information or we need to understand whether there is some changes which has to be made for your data. And sure that if you're not having that at present situations, you can move over to the reporting step and then back again to the cleaning also. But still, for the initial stages, what we generally do is that to clean the data, what we are bringing from the Excel. So now I'm just selecting this tab to which I wanted to make a editing, right? I'm just hitting on to edit here. Now this opens up into a separate page. It's actually a component called query editor, right? The query editor is a major part for the Power BI where you can work on with your data, where it could be of formulas or it could be of external informations where you can write multiple queries based on to your languages also. But this is what is the query editor page, but this is within the Power BI, but it opens up separately. Okay, it's one of the component of Power BI. Right. So this can be located over here. This is the page selection for that. If you select this, the query editor will be opened up for us. So whatever the changes related to the columns or the cleaning, all the informations or the transformations, we have to do it with the query editor. So which is a very important step which you are going to focus. Now I'll just go with step by step of cleaning our data. First of all, I'll explain you why we are doing it, because it's not that only that this feature will be helpful for this, but we need to understand whether our data is really need that cleaning information or cleaning options to be done. For our information, sir, I can just give you a tip over here at this point of time. There are rows and columns here. So where to begin? How to begin the cleaning of information? It's just a tip what we are just going to share to you. Many a times that we need formulas or those informations to be existence to be done or customs columns to be there. So usually you can have a follow-up like a rows cleaning and then the columns and then finally to the formatting. So rows cleaning, columns cleaning, and then to the formatting. So that it will be a very much convenient and more making a consistent move with your data. So when it comes to the row, what I can just observe seeing it here is that my first row is not necessary. It's actually null. Right? And then my second row, which is available over at the second row, right? At the row number 2. Right? It has to be a first row for it. So now to remove this first row, I can just select this row here, right? And we have an option here to remove it. Let me just draw and show it to you. So you can observe seeing it here, we are reducing the rows. There are two options over here. Either you can select the multiple rows and choose option keep rows, whatever rows you needed. Or if you have some specific rows to be removed, the option which you wanted to select is a remove rows. So for our instance, we are going to choose remove rows. Now it prompts me that remove top rows, remove bottom rows, and multiple options are available here. It depends upon to our requirement. Now it is actually a blank column, blank row actually. So I can choose an option of remove blank rows. If I choose that, whatever is in your Excel sheet at the bottom of blank rows will be getting deleted. Sometimes you may need that or sometimes you may not need that. You can choose that option also. But it's the first row what I am having it. Usually when it comes with the query editor, you should be having a shortcut of approach what we can get it with. Once you get familiar with the query editor, you may find it much easier than that. But now I'm just saying that remove top rows. Right. Now it prompts me how many numbers of rows I wanted to delete. I want to delete the first row. If I just need 3, 4, I can just give the number mentioning over here. Right. So the moment I do the deletion, you can see on my right side, there is some steps which is being automatically getting updated. So the Power BI query editor supports us, whatever the steps we are doing it, onto our right, to give us a visual about each and every step. And if I just select that respective step, that's actually what it happens is that some formula which has been happening at the back end. So that will also be displayed to us in our picture. Okay. So now I've just removed a first row from my table. Now what I wanted to do is A, B, C, D, or the columns by the name it is showing to me. But I can see that from my Excel sheet, the first row is what is the column name for their respective columns. So I wanted to make that first row as a column. So in Power BI Query Editor, we have this option. Like I'm just making this selection of the first row, and we have the option here and the transform. We are just transforming that respective row as a header, right? So first row as a header. The moment I make that, the first row has been shifted to each and every column, and now my data is completely ready at the bottom as a table structure. And now further I can just move on with the row editing. Still I'm in a row editing mode. I mean what I'm just doing a transformations. So I'm just more cleaning to the row related one. And now I can see that my row is completely okay with me. I just wanted to move to a column customizations or formatting what I wanted to do. So to clean the columns, I can see that to my first column, what I'm just having it's a segment, and there is some unwanted necessary information in my column. So if there is a need that in your text column, there is something which has to be deleted, there is an option here to delete that respective items from the column. But it will be following some generic steps where I just have to select the column onto which I wanted to make some changes, right? And I can just say that option of extract. Okay, I just make a draw here. There's an option called extract here. So I wanted to extract the respective column based on to the condition what I wanted to do. So now it's listed out multiple conditions to us here, but I can just make a selection what it is, as I said now, a short way. So I can see that in my column, I have an delimiter as that. I mean, the custom field is that. So using that custom field, I can make changes whatever is necessary for me, right? So in this instance, we are just going to make a extraction of extraction from the column out here, right? The delimiter before to the left of the column, right? I just make a selection here. Hit on OK. So now it has segregated, I mean, it has removed the unnecessary information from that respective column. Okay. Now, moving on to this respective product column, what I'm just having. Right? So now we have just seen about the removal of some information from the column. But this column has two information. The two information is necessary for me, but not in a single column. I want to split this column because I want a product name separately and a product code separately, so that my data can be visualized in various ways also. There is a need or some scenario what I can do with. Right? So in that scenario, what I just have to do now is the split column. Initially, we have done an extract. Now we are going to do a split column. Right? The split column is also available related to here. So if you observe into the screen now, what I am just doing as of now is related to the text. So in Power BI Query Editor, it has been grouped up accordingly to the requirement. So it is related to the text column. So I can see that in the transform, it is available in the text column. If I need it related to the number column, it will be available. You can do all the customization or changes or transformations from the numbers in group. So it is already grouped and it is available for us in the tabs. So now what I can just do is that I wanted to split this column. Again, it's an option for us either to a number of characters or delimiters. Usually, many of the instances we get the scenarios of the delimiters. If that is not available, then it is an option that you have to go for the number of characters from where you wanted to make a change. Right. So I'm just making a delimiter here. Now this instance is asking me whether you wanted to have through which way it has to be selected. So I made a selection of a leftmost delimiter here. From this, it has to be selected. It is common because we are not going to make a multiple split over here. It's just a two split we are making it, right? So I made a selection of leftmost delimiter here. Right? Just hitting on OK. Now we can observe our data. We are cleaning more into step. So I got the product and then another one here. Onto next to that. Now I wanted to rename this column. What it has to be there, because it is to be a product name and this has to be named as a product code. So to that, I can just double click here and edit assets I like it. And this will be a product code I wanted to do. Right. So now let us move further onto our right, because it's actually about 700 rows what we are doing it, but only with the 14 columns. So within 14 columns, how many changes we are making the instances. And if you observe onto our another side here, now we have a total revenue here. I wanted to add a custom column here because we wanted to get a column for total unit cost. Right? Total unit cost is necessary for my table. So in order to do that, we have an option here in the add column tab. Right? We have a custom column here. It's an option. So the moment I hit a custom column, this will be prompting me with the formula what I wanted to enter. Right? So this is just a simple formula which you are going to do. That with the available existing columns, we are going to multiply manufacturing price with the units sold. So what our idea about it? So I'm just selecting the manufacturing unit price. This onto a right, it will visible you all the columns what we are having in our table. So now over here, I can make a selection of the column for which I wanted to bring into my formula, and over to the below, we have an insert here. Just hit on to that, and then I just multiply that with units sold. Right? Now I can just name this custom column according to my name. I want to name this as a total unit price.
Unit cost.
Unit cost. Right? Once you return OK, that column will be existence to us, to available. You can always make a check on to our right side what the steps we are making it. So once we complete with these steps will be available to us on the screen. Then followed by it, you can also practice it when we are about to do it. But now I wanted to rearrange this column to this location. Right? So it's just simple that in an Excel I can just drag and bring it into my picture out here. And there is some unnecessary column which I wanted to delete it from my table. Once you bring it into Power BI, there will be a lot of columns which is not necessary for your modeling, as we discussed. We wanted to remove some of the columns. So for our instance, we have the column of COGS something. We don't need that column actually. So we have to delete that column from our table. Right? To deleting the column, I can just have to select the column here. Right? And we have an option here to delete it. Just right click that. And we have an option here to remove the column. Right? If there are multiple columns, at one instance I wanted to delete it, then there is another way also to do it. One is this way, or other ways you can choose the columns which are available over here. So if I hit on to choose the columns, it will list out all the columns what you are having it in the table. So we can just have a tick mark of whatever it is necessary for us for our requirement of reporting. Right? So I can just remove this column in by this way. Right? Now we can see that once you bring into a picture about all the removal of column or all this information, what you are about to done with your data, right? I think as far as the columns, we have executed to bring in our custom column also one, and also we have done some changes to the related to the columns. But one important point that we have to understand now is the formatting the information. The table what we have is that same that what we maintain the format in the Excel is available in the Power BI. So for our instance, let us just have a walkthrough from our left. So this is actually a text column. So that's why it mentions us with us ABC with the icon here. And I can just click over here. I can make a quick change with our data type, right? But actually, there is a tab for this where we have a option here. As a data type. what we are doing is defining a data type. All right. In Power BI desktop, there are two categories. One is data type and data categories. So what we are doing is a data type. Categorizing a data means if it is a countries, if it is a regions, so if it is a date or call, so we wanted that to be appear as a country by itself. So Power BI recognizes that data what is available in the column is countries. So that we categorize that as a data categorization. But here we are just defining the data type as of now. Okay. But in our table we know that we have a countries as a data, right? We will ensure that we make that changes also in a later stage. But now here, this is a text column, and followed with that country is also a text column. And over to here, it defines as a whole number. So when I make a selection of the column, I can see the data type, what it is. Okay. What it is. But now over into selection here, this is showing us a whole number. This is fine for bringing to a report and everything. But more specifically, I can use the option of more data type, mentioning that as a currency. So to make it a quick change, I can say that this is a fixed decimal within dollar symbol here. Right?
India also is possible.
Yes, that is possible. So what would be that one as? That would be a data category. Right? So here we can just make a change about what information we are making. And now the respective informations, same I can just say hexadecimal, hexadecimal, hexadecimal. Now over here we can just observe it's a date. It is automatically recognized as a date. Because what Power BI does is that when we have some rows information and when we transpose that into a respective headers, by default itself, it will try its maximum level to clean and transform. If your data is very much perfect as it's synchronized with the Power BI desktop requirement, then you can just shift over to multiple steps. It ignores you. So first, initially when you open up itself, you can see that there are some list of things which is automatically being triggered up, right? So we should be knowing about that also. So now this has been automatically recognized as a date. So I can just have this option here. If suppose it is not recognized in your real-time scenario, we have an option here to detect the data type here. Okay. If you hit on this option, it will be automatically detected what it is data type it is. And
But that's only when you don't see the data type as date above that, right?
About that. If there is any changes, if there is not, sometimes it reflects about your data what you're having it. Suppose it is in a whole number situation like this, it can be existence also. But we need to ensure before putting it into a model. So to make that change, I can just say it's back again to date. Okay. Now, as of now, we have just made some formatting and everything. This is quite enough for my table, what we are having it. But we will also see to the features, what it is available now. Some things which we can discuss, and we can also share your moments there. Now, I'll just show you some information which will be helpful for us in the data queries for any of your situations, what you're having it, right? So, but now, as of now, this is quite comfortable for my model of report, what I'm just going to have. If you observe that, we have an option here to replace values. Onto a home tab, I can see that in any column, this is categorized as any column, I have a replace option. So what it does is that in your column, you can find 12 and change that to 14. Something very much simple steps, it occurs. So wherever is the 12 into your 700 rows, it gets converted easily to this. So that option is easily available to us. Sometimes you may be having this months, right? In your real-time scenario, this months could be as a column names. If it is as a column names, it will be a huge number of informations for us. So in that situations, that is where the option of transpose is used. or pivoted columns can be used. It's something quite available in the Excel also, but over here also it's easily available for our
Where
confirmations.
you get the replace value?
Replace
Okay,
values,
it's there. Okay.
yeah, over into any column it is available. So whatever the changes we make, it is available, like unpivoted columns and the information is what you wanted to transform or transpose everything what you wanted to do. And over here, I wanted to have instant calculated column. What do we mean by that is that further down in the updates from the existence for the initiation of the Power BI, they have also included some standard methodology from where the column has to be calculated to what. Now, I wanted to add a custom column, right? I want to bring in a column and I wanted to add in some information and bring that column. So I want to understand about the profit, like I wanted to subtract this total revenue minus to the total unit cost, right? This simple calculation which I wanted to perform. So to do that, we have an option here under the number column. You observe there is an option of standard available. So I can just say that this has to subtract
I think that will become calculated field, right?
actually
This standard subtract is we want to subtract 100 in all the
no.
all the
there are
rows.
there are two options it will be triggering up. When we hit on to this standard and subtract, it will ask either as a value or the columns which is available existingly with your table. But I think that
But you
let me just
but say subtract or you multiply by 10, all the entities will be
that
applicable.
values what you are entering in that respective tab
Yeah.
will be getting subtracted by the values what you are giving.
Yeah.
But there are option here. Let me just
We come out of calculated field.
In added columns,
I think that is a calculated field, the profit one.
this one. Yeah, this profit one is a calculated field.
Calculated,
The same thing only I'm just trying to execute that. Now, it is actually a separate file what I have just opened to you. The part what I wanted to make you understand here is that I'm just making a total revenue selected. If I just hit on to standard options which are available over here, I can just do some scientific calculations like square rooting of all the information to some values, or there are some powering options also available. But now let us just try to have some simple calculation, like I just wanted to subtract this value. The moment that I do that, it prompts me with a value here and then amount what I wanted to subtract to it. But I want to subtract with total revenue of each and every row. There are 700 rows in that with the total unit cost of every rows. So to do that, I can just hit on to an option here at the slide here. Once I do that, I have an option here to use values in a column. Now this will be listing out what is the value I wanted to select. Now I make a selection here, and if I execute, that opens up a separate custom column by the name of the execution what you are doing it. It's actually a formula only, but it's a standardized one that Power BI query editor is providing to us. So now you can rename this column as needed for us. And if you notice down that when we perform this subtraction or the standard formulas, the data type is still maintained to us. So we know we can have a track about that also. I think there's some problem with this file. It's not showing me that.
No, even here in add column, I think. Go to add column, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to-
Over here, we have to make a selection of.
correct.
That's it. So from the number, what we wanted to make a selection of, what we wanted to execute.
What if you want to do that operation in alternative columns, right? So 1, 3, 5, 6. So there is
Still, you can perform that, but not with the standard one. You have to perform it through a custom column and enter the formulas over here, whatever is necessary. If that formula is existing with your Excel, you can copy and paste that formula over here. So when it is of high steps, then ignore us about the standard ones, then follow it with the custom column what we initially tried. So any of your tabs, there will be some hyperlinks from where you'll be finding samples or the tutorials related to the formulas to the respective subject in detail. You can find it from that hyperlinks also. Now over into this selection, I can see that there is an option here from the date and time. Suppose if your columns is having a date and time within a same column, but I wanted to split that column. So I don't want to have a delimiter or characters mentioning over here, but we have an option here directly to do that. Because suppose if I just select this will be giving us a date. I can just select that either if I wanted to perform a date. Now my date is just separated from that date column. So these instances will be helpful for us when you are having a date and time.
Follow that. I'm sorry, I couldn't follow that.
Okay,
But you got that column?
I just do that. So I just selected this date column here.
Okay.
So now there could be a scenarios that this respective columns, date columns, might be having a time also included in that column. Over into my report, I wanted to split that column so that I can have some reporting strategies in my mind to implement that. So now, for our instance, we have a date alone, but still within this date, it is in the format of date, month, and year. If I still wanted to extract a date alone, which we performed earlier through extract using a delimiter, but over in this information like date, time, and duration, when this column is respected to availability, you can just select this date. And if I wanted to split the date alone, I can make a selection of days.
Okay. It will come in.
Yeah, it will be showing us a day here, which day it is. Now I just perform this step, but instantly I don't want this step to be occurred. I wanted to delete this step. So as I said, all the applied steps are visible to us on the right. So if I just wanted to remove the step, I can just hit on to a delete here. So any time I can just click onto this and change over whatever the works we have performed. So whatever we have done is through an interface and with the options. But at the back end, you can observe there is a specific formula which is always occurring over here. Okay.
So when you deleted it, can you again bring it back? Normally in Excel, Control Z.
No, that part. Actually, that's where the connectivity is there. Even I had that thought yesterday when I was just having multiple configurations set up. That will not be available. So you just have to have again a redo of that respective step from there. Because it's actually applied steps from where you are dealing it.
How do you get that screen? That table.
You mean to say the Power Query
The
return?
table dot transform column.
All right. So sometimes it will not be visible to us.
It's not available.
Sometimes it will not be available to us. So for that, you have to go to View, and there is an option here to view the formula bar.
Okay.
That tick box has to be enabled. So almost if you see here, the query editor having the 4 tabs, so I mean the majorly 4 tabs, and across to the 4 tabs, it's all about a huge subjects and each and everything would be having it if you go to an advanced level. But for our requirement of the data, we have did some changes and transformations and also the filterings, whatever needed to us. And also we have just looked about some of the informations which are available within the options. Now once this all related information is fine to me, right? All this information are related to fine to me. And I can just hit on to close and apply. So The very first time,
What's the difference between these close and apply, apply and close?
I'll explain. Now I just opened the Excel. Directly I selected the edit instead of loading that file. I did all these works. So this is the first time I'm just loading the model for my reporting. Once you loaded the model, sometimes you may need some changes which has to be done, or there could be additional queries which you wanted to do it. Then again you need to bring into an edit query again. So at that time you can just hit on to apply and still work on with your reporting, and side by you can work on with your editor. Because as I said, this is actually a separate component from the Power BI, but still it is connected to that. You need to hit on to apply. So whatever the changes you make, that reflects to your reporting page. So this major important that either you can just close this, so that will be applied to our the query editor will be closed to us. Now its report page is view blank, and we got the sheet over here with our filtered data and filtered information. We have deleted some columns that is also been deleted here.
But my profit column is not coming.
I think I have not performed that column here. Let me just redo that now again. I didn't save that column here. So in order to do that, I just have to go to edit queries. I'm just selecting this edit queries back again. Let me just here. The profit column is not available here. Right? So I didn't execute that. I executed in a different one. So I'm just selecting this column here. Just selecting this. Use the column value. Total unit cost. Let us define this as profit. Right. Now, if I wanted to work on parallelly and I wanted to see these changes, now I can just hit on to apply all. This has applied. Now you can see that it is available over here. But still you can work on into your query editor. Okay. Now for our instance, we have just brought up only one Excel, and we have got only one sheet into that, and we have executed that part, and we have gone to that. So what is that this sheet is? What is that we wanted to name this sheet as? I can say that as a sales sheet. So to make these changes, we can just double click here and enter it, right? And also we have an all properties which is available at the bottom, right? So I'm just selecting that for an informative. So I can just make a sales. I can give description for information in a later stage. And there is two options here. So enabling this will be loading this information to your report. If you uncheck this, this information will not be loaded if you hit on to a refresh also. If you make any changes or if you make any custom changes, it will not be reflected into your report. So ensure that you have selected this when it is not necessarily, and that sometimes some users would be restrictions would be there. So you can have that selections always for your requirement.
After I given the flows and apply the 5 flows, so what do we talk about? Can I not see the file again?
You want to observe the query editor again?
This again.
Yeah. So in order to do that, we have an option here, edit queries under external tab. So when you edit queries, that will automatically open up your query editor. So now we have got the model ready with it, with the filtered columns or the necessary informations, whatever we needed for a reporting part of it.
Can we ask you to just go ahead and start doing what
Yes.
we said? Because you have all these files downloaded. Okay, so we'll be happy to help you in case you are stuck in between.
So for that instance, so we'll just open up this query editor from my screen. Okay.
We'll just have that as a reference. You may not need to go through the same set of transformation.
You can
But I
try.
want you to experiment it as much as possible. If you learn something new, share it. If you get into some problems, let us know. On both sides, we are happy. So can we take another 10 minutes? 5 minutes back. Okay. Post which will take a break and then come back. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what you guys are saying is that, so here is a transformation. If you look on this, those is very easy to do. What action happens is you go to create
You have now removed your top rows. Your first row should be your column names. Right? So we have that option in the home tab. Over the transform, we have here. Sometimes the headers should also be to be used as a rows. First row. Sometimes it may occur. So instantly you can make a change. Our instance would be first row as a header.
Yeah, but you don't need to see that. I wanted to let you know each and every step of the command. It's like converted to a command. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I just so we have an option to use that column. What is the so from the delimiter, we have a delimiter of steps. Steps are the explained also on the previous. So the first is when we use some of the list. Let's take for our instance, it is not available. It's second is on imported data. So you can do a custom information. On an aggregated data, it promotes data. That's a dash, which we are always remove from the order. Because somewhere in between you remove a step, and this is what if you remove a step, let's say you remove a step. But there is a chance you might be breaking the step that are coming after. I'm not saying you have to break. Let's say the step is that changes data index to data. Let's say the following step. Assume that the state will extract. If you remove a step that will convert the text to data, there are other steps that you break. So you will keep capture and it will take into our data. These steps will go out and we will see the data. Even if we can about it's needed to manage all this traps of there are some When you start creating issues in that area, you will see, and
Yeah.
This is in text format. Very easy in text. So I can put a pie chart. I will draw a red line.
If you notice, when data is Excel, normally Excel is 10,000 records, it's will be something. If you are hundreds of records, it's difficult to run row wise, to check data.
See, that's what I'm trying to say. Things will come into the data. Because I don't have to say the data cleansing that you're writing on sheet for some row. Let's say tomorrow is the data study. And let's say this data is coming from an unknown source. Like or some others that you use data. There is always a chance.
No, you have to select that.
Here is not.
Oh, okay.
Look at the extreme case and see what the change in time. There is always you can always do that and change. Do that very well.
No, my question is, once later on, if I do change in the source file Excel, will that affect?
The data within the Excel file is
You are
filing.
Say next if you want to replicate the
Very
data, you set for.
Filing is required.
Actually, as a point now is that whatever is the information you are going to we cannot export that to an Excel.
Filing is a file.
So just change the format with dollars.
In the folder area,
Either this format or let's say these.
but all I'm saying is but that's it. So you get data is needed. You want to point it to the folder and do data. So all files within the folder are made. So tomorrow you have 10, 50, 100,
Yeah.
we find area is only one file. You can always come here and say, always come here.
Let us see that. Because once you load that, you can change this data. So from there, you can have multiple selection. Over here, because each and every column, we are making some most of the customization. So that's why they are not able
So files are there, those files do it. So which means I have 5 records here. Then
All will be compiled into one sheet.
Oh.
But why?
Because they are
That's a big problem, right?
why? That's why we did
No, if we want to do vendor-wise analysis,
the point is,
All right,
the
got
pointing, okay, your point is right. The point is right. You're pointing it to a folder. All files will become this one. And you can compare one, this, each one is a query, like any one. Each query is a set of cells. You can combine these two. You can, they want to start into the see this. No, you want to see this. Follow this. You want to see it. Right click. You can just I can even duplicate it or I can create a reference. Okay, which means when I say duplicate, the same thing will be duplicated. So you can always combine.
so here if I want to open another.
Automatically format here. So it's a format. But that will make it good enough.
Let's say I have some query.
What these days,
I have
not
some
able to do it. Multiple columns.
I have some data intended. Everything can be, everything is query actions. And within the query, you have multiple steps. Everything is actually a query. So by applying all these steps, you are getting a good data. So we are focusing only on this point itself. But in Excel, this I get the comma separated.
So, yes.
You look to comma separated, so JSON.
Then it's just so why do we use the space, capital N.
Now, if I want to generate some additional column, instantly as a formula. We have an add column and then from number. We have a standard selection. So we need to select a column just select a column. Where we want to make a calculation.
The system will there be some weird standard. For instance, this did not get like let's say this is correct, but it's
Yeah, we can navigate that.
is the first is caps and remain. So remain the other way, everything is caps or everything is small. So then so when from that
Just, you can say this, this will be to, needs to be, would apply that result if this one to, remove that.
yeah.
Power BI. Not in Excel, not in Excel, only from the reverse way. But now we also that there is no extraction. Yeah, I want to extract, the name, I don't want
There
the.
is some mechanism like just being followed and usually you will be a different kind. But anything you have to think that order is
You have that extract.
One question.
Performance so the dash has been asked. So now we have only, how we calculate. Yeah. We delete that. Just stick to, you don't know what that. And then you have replace.
Yeah, those details we will which you are definitely have to
Instead of extraction, you have done a replace. So it has got replaced like with a dash with a blank. What is the thing that we can extract from here? We have a shortcut, right? We have a delimiter, so we don't want to go with the text or the characters. We can just extract before the delimiter or after the we can rename. We are extracting, we have, before, this before the delimiter, we need to extract, or probably, other than there, after the delimiter, we need to rename. Insert. That's it. So now we are able to do some transformation.
We're just analyzing on what he was talking about. Once you're there in the query editor, we want you to explore this option. Go to the home. They have an advanced editor. Okay. Go to modeling. Oh, sorry. I don't think you have it. Go to home. Go to edit queries. Yeah, edit queries. Because this is the query editor, right? So go to the advanced editor. So all these transformation steps will be added.
Wow.
And this language, right, is called the same language, manipulation language. So if you might want to find some time, right, just search for a video or article on M language, maybe called as Power BI example. Okay.
Intermediate.
Okay, so you might want to look at the M language. It's quite powerful because very advanced Power BI users.
M
they
like
don't
the
use
DAX.
That's not DAX. That's not DAX. DAX is within the Power BI editor. In the query editor, it's called M language. M is called for manipulation. DAX is more a function language. When I say function language, it's more like you create a column. So within the column, you write functions within functions within functions. So here you have a structure, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, which means after step 1 is done, its output goes to step 2.
We just
The output of
deleted
step 2 goes to step 3.
steps or some
And that's why we say it's always a best practice. If you want to delete a step, always delete the last step. If you delete a step in between, it might break other steps. I'm not saying it will not work. It can work.
Yeah, that's it. Now
Let's say you have a
just
step
do this.
which converts a text to a date.
We've already
And let's say the following steps assumes that it is a date and
Dependency.
extracts year, month, and
You understand?
so the remaining steps will break and you will see an error.
Yeah.
I'm not able to do it. So it's always better that you remove steps from the bottom.
But if there is no dependence, I can go and remove the in-between step, which I cannot do it in
And you don't
Excel.
need to so be conscious about it actually. You can remove any step that you want, but if you get a message, focus on that.
Okay.
Second is he was mentioning a very good point saying that no focus on rows, columns, and then the formulas. So always keep the data, right? Because you say get data Excel. What actually happens is that Excel file is loaded into memory. Is loaded into memory and is saved in the file or BA file itself. When you do a file savings, right? The file will have the visualization which we'll be talking about, and as well as the Excel data. Okay, so if your Excel is let's say around 5 MB, your Power BI will be 5 MB plus some metadata. So if I share that Power BI file to you, you don't need to have that Excel. So as on that time when I shared you will still be able to see it. But when you do a refresh, you have a refresh command here. You can see that. Huh? Here. You have a refresh command here. You use refresh, that's when it will say you don't have an Excel file. Because it is only at that time it's going to search for that folder file.
For additional rows.
Additional rows and resetting. So point is, since that data is going to be part of your file and it will be loaded into memory for visualization, keep the data as small as possible. I don't want you to remove all data. Whatever data you need for visualization, keep it. Otherwise, remove unwanted data. Because when we do some sales like this, right? Let's say if our topic for discussion is we want to see only for the year 2018, but the Excel is having for the last 10 years. Do I need to focus on anything beyond 18? No. So you can apply a filter here. Like Excel, you can apply a filter and I can say that filter only for 2018. Which means on the got data, only 2018 data will be saved in your file.
The query itself you can filter.
Query itself you can filter. And secondly, I would say always try to remove the rows and columns and then look at changing data type. Because sometimes we change data type for all the 17 columns. And on the changed data type, we remove. So we will convert text to date and then we will remove the date column. Because it unnecessarily adds some load to the editor. No? When you do it, right, it will just go by your command. It will not do any optimization saying that, oh, date column is going to be removed later. So let me not do change data type. It is just going to follow your commands. So do some kind of thought in terms of do I really need to add that step or not? And remember, this goes by the way we tell. If the data type is already number and I say change it to a number, it's going to add another step. So it's not going to check whether the step is needed or not. So we need to do our best judgment whether those steps are not needed or not. Because maybe for 700 rows, you may not see much big difference. But if that 700 becomes 7,000 or 7 lakhs, then you will see a performance issue. You'll say, why is it taking so much time? That's why it is. So think on all these terms because
Does custom visuals take more time for loading data?
it depends on what the custom visual is all about. If your custom visual is just a simple visual, that's how I would try to
Is
support
there
it.
any limit on the number of visuals that can be one page?
See, I don't see any limit here. Okay, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve through that page. Okay, because to see if you're looking from a performance standpoint, there can be some best practice. So I would strongly say that you can have multiple pages. Have visuals that gives high level information in the first page. Its drill down should be in the second and the third page. So don't bring every visual, all 50 visuals you want to display in one single page.
So this is what we built actually. Me and our team has built.
What it says is that from the number what you want to do.
This was the enterprise. That's a good technology.
Okay.
From this cost, it's
It's a good one.
cost which you have.
Okay. So your question is?
Our challenge is like filter for technology. Yes.
So this will give you the output as well, some custom quality. So you can also observe there, stay at calls, rename the call, subtraction is happening, this is what is happening.
So the time taken to load is.
So you go to specifically for some of the more complex sheets like focus agents. So with a lot of aspirations, we give as many requirements as possible. But if you look at it, when you got 10 custom visuals, then at the lowest agent level data.
Just ensure that you are just made all these steps, whatever is intended for our file, and then
After
further
building
we can
everything,
add that,
my tech team says that we cannot have so many visuals. That's one reason it might be.
It's not visual actually.
Okay.
See, there are some new changes that has been released in September. See, most of the data that you see here is a more aggregated data. So they have added an aggregation feature more at the qualitative level itself.
I think that's the latest feature,
Latest
right?
one.
But this was built actually in July, August.
They
time
need to
itself.
relook at redesigning the data model.
Oh, okay.
Okay, which means that if you have an aggregated data, right, it's much more making the data model light. That's always better. For example, here it's going by product, date, unit price, profit for each and every line item every day.
Okay.
But if I'm not going to take decision more at a line item, but more at, let's say, product level, month wise, it's always better to aggregate more at a product, month, get the profit.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's what you are going to get into. Maybe if you do a root cause analysis, you might go into the day. But overall level, you may not want to get into the day.
No, but in this case, we want to go to the root level. No? We want to go to the agent level here.
You see, that's what I'm trying to look at, right? So you are seeing it. So if you look at the date range here, it's been from 2018 to this one.
Yeah,
Last
1 month
year.
data. Yeah.
But look at the data model behind it. They might be loading a lot of data that is not displayed here. For example,
No,
there
that's
are
what
700
initial
rows.
loading was there for 6
There are
months
700
before.
rows in the sample data. But finally, the visual, let's say if I show you only the last 2 months data, which is 1 year or 20 rows, but the data model is having 700 rows. Is it really needed? So that's a call that we need to look at.
We don't know much of the technical side.
So the best way to look at it is if you look at, I'll take this example. So let's say that you have worked on a query data, okay, and you come back to this one, you are able to see this data. It looks quite cool. But even before you start creating any of these visuals, which we'll talk about, I would say select that particular table or sheet, and I want you to see the data first. So look at, this is the actual data. This is not a preview. This is the total data. Just ask yourself, do I need so much data first? Because visualization will not talk about it. Visualization is going to be by time, by product, everything. It looks very simple on the screen. But once this data goes up, the time taken for it to create the visual is also going to increase. Okay. To my observation is when they start using visuals, be it Excel, be it Power BI, there's a lot of unwanted data that is getting loaded in the model, and that is bringing down the disk space and the memory space. So try to look at reducing the footprint of the data model.
Specifically, I want to check with you this specific area where we can extract the data. This is what. In fact, we're asking, do we need to show so much of data? I don't know, they're saying the data.
Who's the
model.
audience to this one? That's how the question would be. Who's the audience to these visuals?
The service delivery team is the
Do they
audience.
need so many visuals? See, I might say that if you are a service delivery team, are all these visuals important? Maybe within the service delivery, they will have a separate functional teams. Each functional team would be have interest to different tabs. So it's always better to create different dashboards for different teams rather than at a service level. Maybe a second reason is we made a statement that we wanted to bring everything here. that's why you have added this. But ask yourself, will everyone use this data on a day-to-day basis? Maybe from a future standpoint, there might be some visuals. Maybe tomorrow they may need it. Next month they may need it. We start creating the visual, but nobody is using the visual now. So try to look at simplifying the data as much
I
as
think that's
possible.
what currently
That is
current
one.
optimization.
Second is each of these visuals by default will interact with each other. You might know
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you select it, this will
interactive.
automatically changes. Ask whether that is needed every visual. Because the moment you select it, if there is a connect between this visual and that visual through the drill down, everything will talk to it. But naturally, this visual and this visual does not have any relation, but still they will talk. So you might try
So
to.
here all connected.
So I'll show you that maybe this does not. This is here. Okay, so if you look at this, this is one of the visuals here. This is just, I'm not adding any data to it. You see that that's a drill down. Right, so I can always, let's say I'm adding another visual. So when I select this visual, I can edit this interactive, which means when this visual is selected, should this visual filter or should it give a highlight, which means only the highlighted one, or it should not have any interactive. By default, as you see, it is always filtered. So even if these two charts don't have any relationship, the moment I select some barrier, Power BI will try to refresh this particular visual.
Okay.
Because of which you see there is a delay. And look at it, if I have another 10 more visuals, every time when I interact with this, all the other 10 visuals gets refreshed.
So one of the thoughts that came is, for example, client is a subset of vertical, job codes is a subset of client. What client do is put all of them in one visual as a drill down.
Drill down.
But client
And
to
you don't
client,
need to,
vertical to
that's a
client,
very
client to
good
job
one.
code.
That's a very good one because sometimes, see if you look at this, let's take the date. You have a date here?
The third one.
Third one. So let's add a date. Okay, and let's say we have a sales price. Okay. So as you see, this is one more by, which is it by year?
Yeah.
Okay, what I can do is, I may not need to have another visual for month. Do you see this option? To drill down. When I click this, it is automatically getting into the month. See this? Quarter. So within that, I can go by this one. So I don't need to have separate visuals for year, month, and day. I can just use this, and I can always drill down and drill down. You see this? You can always drill down and drill down. I don't need to have separate visuals for everything.
So that's one change the team is looking at doing.
So I think we started the conversation by custom visuals does it take. See, all visuals, they eat up too much memory space because of data.
Okay. Because of the
Yeah.
Microsoft.
And secondly, you need to see whether visuals talk to each other or not. Or
More
should they talk
interaction
to
take
each
more
other
time,
or
isn't
more time. Because every interaction to one visual, another visual will start. You'll see the dot itself. That's what it is. And you might also want to see the data volume that is getting inputted. Let's say that, so you're able to see that the visual here, it is only for, okay, suppose it's a browser here. See, it is for, I don't know for which year it is. Maybe for 2018 is what we're looking at.
No, we are restricted to 6 months here.
6 months. But the data model might have more than 6 months. But they're applying filter at the visual level to only for the last 6 months.
No, we had a few discussions to cut down the data on the cube itself. They
Yeah.
confirmed they've done. But is there a way we can check it?
You can, if you through this you can do that. Okay, but you need to have at least this Power BI. You can go to the editor here, and if you are in the Power BI editor like the way you just did, if you go to the data here, and you can always look at the date here. So do you have a date? You can always look at the date.
Oh, okay.
And see that, oh, it's having even 2014, but we need only 18. So though at the source level itself they could have cut, but here there might be some data that could have passed through. Maybe it was coming from a different source. Maybe I cannot judge by looking at this data. Is it coming from one data source or multiple data sources?
multiple data sources.
Then this kind of a because when I and
No, but each page is from different data source, but within one page it will be one.
are you importing or are you doing a direct query?
direct code?
Then it might take time. Direct query will always take time.
Real-time
Because when it's a real-time query, and it depends on the performance of that SQL or Oracle or that system also. That is natural.
What is the alternative?
You need to go for direct query, but go for aggregation. That's why the aggregation feature was added in September. Because direct query, if too much of data is getting downloaded, right, it might naturally give a task on
The
the
goal is to bring all the different data sources in one platform, one umbrella, so that people don't want to don't go multiple
This is the
reports.
perfect solution.
We want to have an interactive reports, meaning many times we see report in isolation. So what happens, what is causing what? So that is the intent. We're just in the phase two.
You downloaded the October, okay. I'll be back. Just get that. Okay. Meanwhile, you can explore.
Nothing. See from here, see this is the data. C2, C3, right? This is the table that we have. And the top one is the canvas, where you can do visualization. The bottom one, and the third one. We got only one table. Okay, suppose you have 2, 3 tables that you can connect. For example, in our case, we generally connect with the job posts.
A lot of changes. We have already saved that. Yeah, that is saved as very. Close all the
Basically mute those DA files.
open directly.
You don't need all PA files. Okay. So in this case, if you look at it,
So what it is, I split this into different like date ones here. And then I asked you to one.
okay.
So you make
So
it.
look at it, I have 4 tables. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, you just using one. Okay, I also have common connectors. For example, in this case, I have the job code and the cost per review. I think I am using the cost per review. Now, if you look at this is my raw sheet. Okay, carpet and actual. I have transposed it so that you got everything. Nutrition, you got all the parameters. And then
Yeah, this is October one.
Then you got this is our raw sheet. This is the raw sheet. This is just for month. You basically have removed the dates there, number, and just getting that into this format. Okay, in fact, some of the steps we can
Yeah. Okay. So let us begin with this second part of that. What we have to do now is to visualize the data. You freezed it? Yeah, I freezed it. Just before that, we have now, as of now, we have made some changes and we have been made with the query editor. We also wanted to make sure at the end that we have find some points that when you wanted to add a new column or new step, ensure that you have it in a selection of the last of your applied step and add up a next step of that. In case if you find any difficulties, like there is some in between steps has been added, add that, but ensure that your last step is being executed. Or there can be some connectivity can be missed out with your steps. You need to be ensuring about that. So once your model has been loaded, we are now just going to do a visualization and explore our data. So as we have been having an initial thought process like how to have that output from the data. So we observe the Excel, we had had discussion like this is what we wanted to observe like each and every month or based on the segment vices or however we needed to achieve it. When it comes to the visuals, we have extraordinary portlets which are available with the Power BI. And one thing is that in what basis we are making those visualization selections. It starts from the pie chart to bar charts or whatever the list what we have. Or there are some of the scenarios basis on selection of the visualizations also. So if I wanted to have a drill down of multiple products across to its percentage of sellings, then I can just go for the waterfall to have a drill down or funnel like structure. But if I just wanted to understand about the percentage basis or the generic information, then I can select on with the pie chart information. If I wanted to compare maker selections, then I can just go on with the scattered diagrams. So there are various visualizations which will be available with the Power BI. We'll observe the interface first. The visualization is a separate part as of now what we have observed. So let us observe about the visualization panel, how it looks. Over in our Power BI report view, we have a visualization panel, which will be having showing us a list of visualizations as a standard visuals when you install the software and when you open up the software. But there is also an Eclipse point of icon here. When we select this option, we have an information like there can be a layout, so there can be a visuals which can be from your any of your places, or it can be from your through or online also sources. So we can have that visuals as a custom visuals for your requirement and bring that visual for your reporting, right? So if I just select this import from a marketplace, now it lists out all the Power BI visuals which are available in the market. So from here I can do a search and immediately download that or apply that to bring it into my visual panel, whatever it is not available. So for instance, we will just bring in that visuals in a later stage, but with these standard forms, if I wanted to have a visual in here, I have to make a selection here. So once I make a selection, my report panel will be prompting that this visual has been brought up into a picture, right? Now we have a data which is ready for reporting. Let us have a part of what way we can have a steps of reports, and then we will have some of the scenario basis, like what we wanted to achieve as a report, as a dashboard also. So suppose if I just make a very simple selection like a table here, this is actually a table. I can just go man over here. Underneath that, it will guide us what it is, name of the visualization. I just given a table here. From the table, I wanted to have a date visualizations. Right? Now it visuals me a date. And now I wanted to have only a date, not in this format. What I'm just having a complete year and every quarters are visible to me. So I can just select this column here, and we have an option here to view a date alone. Now it's visualizing only a date from that respective. The columns what we have make a selection. Over into the same table itself. Now I wanted to bring in the product name. So I can just drag and drop it in the values here. So it's going to list me out the product name also. And then I can just have a unit cost and selling price also. Just a generic table which we have been brought up for our review. Just a tabular report what we are observed. But now I can just make another selection, like I have some categorizations, right? So based on to the categorizations, I can make some visualizations also. What is that selections? So I can just wanted to see what way I can just do my visualizations. To do that, I'm just maneuvering to the data tab here. Now I can see that based on country it is there, based on product code it is there. So discount band, these are all some of the categorizations or the ways that we can observe the data. So now I can just wanted to say that, for instance, I wanted to view a respective products information of selling related to the product code of some information what I wanted to categorize. So in order to do that, I'm just hitting onto the report tab back again. I can just select a donut chart, which will be convenient for me to obtain this respective report. The moment I make a selection, the tab is being optioned here. This is the visualizations, and these are their respective fields or the values which you have to fix it in to execute this respective report. Right. Over here, I can just say that my product name could be a details, and I wanted to say based on selling price could be a values. Now it immediately drop down to me a visualization to me. Now what I can see is that a product name is there. When I select here, it shows me the product name, a sale price as a value. I want some legend for this visualizations. I don't want it as a product name. If I give us a product name, if I have huge number of huge name characters would be there. We have some column as a product code. We have split that column. So I have dedicatedly made that respective column to have that as a legend. So I'll just select that product code here, drag and drop it into a legend. Right. Let me just observe it here. Am I able to see the legend here?
No.
No, you're not able to see the legend. So the legend will be options which has been off here. So all the changes respective to the visualizations can be made changes with the visual properties. So sometimes the visuals would be having the legend values enabled to that, but legends options would have been disabled. So when I click onto the on, I will get that legend to be visible into my visualization. Now what I can observe is that each and every product has some color codings within that. These colors can also be customly made for the requirement. But when I make a selection of VTT, what it does into the respective of another visualizations what we have made, it filters out only VTT and it shows the total unit cost in the table column and the selling price for each and every date time. Right? Could able to see the connectivity one among the other visualization. So if I just make a selection of another one, so it quickly goes on to the selection of for the respective selection what you made in the visualization. All the related visualizations will be changed onto their respective data. So this connectivity will be giving us more detail when we go further down onto our visualizations. Now from here, let us have a scenario. I wanted to analyze about the sale, what it has happened. I wanted to compare one among the other products. So now what I'm deciding in my mind is to compare some product to another product. Now I'm in a position which visualization will be best suitable for me, right? So as I said, for the comparison, we have a scattered chart here, right? If I make a selection of scattered chart, let me position up this here, right? This is a new chart of scatter. We are having it at x-axis and y-axis, and what basis of it has to be selected. Now I say that I wanted to make a selection of product name and y-axis as manufacturing. Total unit cost. Filter has been applied. Let's visualize this. From this graph, what you can analyze it for your part. Like you can just see these details, right? We have made an x-axis as a product name, okay, and y-axis as a manufacturing price, what it is, and the total unit cost, what it has occurred. So what I can understand is that whatever on to my right side, the unit cost is very low for production, right? And manufacturing cost for this needs cost about this much, and unit cost is also high. Be able to visualize that respective output. So if I make a selection of one respective element here, then again this all will be related to that visualization. So the visuals are getting connected one among the other when you make a selection of multiple visualizations. So now I got a scenario of comparison of multiple visuals. I mean multiple products and how it has been performing in my market. Okay, so from 700 units of information, we have just segregated some information out here, and it is showing you the output of the dashboard, which is showing you some information or related to a report. It's saying you some story behind to it. So same way, now I can just say that I just place this out here. Okay. Now I have this visualization here. Now let me go to the back again to the data table. So in order to do that, I'm just going here. Now I did it with this some visualizations with these product name, product code, and everything. But still, we have a segment, countries, all those columns are available. So through a segment, I can have some data because it is a complete segment because we can see that it's a government and all related informations are being segregated. Right? Now, in my report tab, I'm just selecting this area chart here. Okay. Now this is my area chart here. Now I can just bring in the information of what I wanted to observe. I can just say product name as legend, segment as values. Yes. Now from this graph, what I can see is that I'm just placing this segment as an axis. So these are my segments like government, small business, channel partners, enterprise, mid markets. So these are my segments. According to these segments, there is some sale prices which has been occurred from my data. So I have visualized this through a chart called an area chart. The purpose here is that I can just go over to each and every area and I can locate that how this has been developed. So which market or which segment it is in a high peak, where the selling has happened a lot. So from small business, this is what is the value it is showing to us. So if I make a selection of one respective element, this will be showing us all the portlets will be connected and it will give us an interactive report of what that respective selection has been made.
What chart format was it? Funnel.
This one, right? This one is an area chart. Suppose if I just wanted to make this as a different chart, by selecting that itself, I can make a chart change. Whatever is the visualization you make that selection, that can be changed automatically. So this is a funnel chart which shows that each and every product wise, how that has been drilling down as a funnel. So which product is in a lower strategy, you get that at the lower row. Right. Let us take a visualizations by yourself. Now let us have a quick scenario like kind of thing for the visualizations. So for our requirement, we have the data here. We wanted to understand about each and every month wise, what would be the sales value it has occurred. Each and every month. I wanted to have a date slice.
How many sales has been made for every month?
Every month. To begin with you, I think so this is the beginning stage that you are trying to have from this data. So what I can suggest is that first initially you can have a tabular report. This respective report. However we have executed. We can just follow what we have done here. So we have brought in a date. If it is not formatted, how to format that? Let us execute this first respective visual now.
And also pull another data as well.
Yeah.
You see that? Okay, and let's say if you want to see an average of this one, just click on this drop down.
Yeah. It is showing you that this.
It is going to be average is going to be changing the total.
But for our requirement, we don't need all as a each and every column. So you can just select this option and this drop.
And let's say, for example, if you are
There is a
more
data
focused only
hierarchy.
on,
But I want to only date.
if you are focused more only on the, let's say, month alone,
Now we can select
click on
this.
date. Since it's a date data type, right? Just click on that. Yeah. And you can just remove the ones that you
Now
don't need.
we can just look over
See
the
that?
property also. Now here we have the properties for the complete information. For the visual related. If you go to this, yeah. This is more related to analytics. This visualization is not having any analytics. So with this will not be visible. This feature is not having any visualization. So now we have got in the total cost, unit cost, sale price and total return.
The data hierarchy, also month. I mean, what is here?
If you want to ignore
Oh, okay, I have to
this,
remove it.
you can just select this here. Yeah, you can get it. Year also. You're splitting is some. Yeah. Which. So now I had it months and I wanted to see as a year. Okay, you want to observe within this or we don't have a separate column here. Do we have? Yeah, we have. So now you need to adjust this, so you can just select this. Here? Yeah. Now it's less up. Okay. Do not summarize. Show it only data. If you want it in this way, or even in the month itself, you can have the years as a single column. Single column. So then I have to go to the no. You can change it here itself. Because you need to observe your data first. Which is the column? This is the column. So in the date column, we have the date, month, and year. So definitely that will be available when you bring it into visualization. So in the visualization here, one thing. Increase. Here you can see only here it is. So you can just add what is
Increase the size of that font.
I'm not getting, I want to know what is the.
Download.
Increase the size of the font.
I think this is down, up.
month name, you have a separate column here. So if you want it only month, then you can use it. If you want the complete date, and then from there you can filter that out.
You should do it.
Yeah, from here if you don't need a year, you can.
It's not like we can select all that stuff.
So quarter, month, and day. I don't know if you do this thing.
Day also.
If you don't want any hierarchy boxes, then you can just select the date.
Okay. I want
Month and year.
and then what is my total name?
So month. So that's the.
And they want to see, they wanted to see graders. Exactly how much revenue is happening. Here we have for 2 years, 2013 and 14. If you take it as a month, it will give it from January to December. You don't know which year it is.
Correct. Here, what you mean to say is that what is
In our current data, the entire data was 2013 only.
I will not take it here, but I want to see it as appearance, month and year.
yeah, you can just select with the month name which is already available for us.
Okay.
Which month this respective sales has happened is shown to you. Correct. But you want it
I understand. So same format, it can't be in one form. Now we have the year separate and month separate.
this is because you're confident that from the month name. From this column, only month is available. If you want it as a complete one, you can select the date.
In this date, complete date, I don't want to see the date.
You want to see only
month and year.
Yeah, for that you can just have to delete this one, quarter and days have to be deleted.
There is I think I got it.
So you have a month, year and total.
That's it. Not selected it yet, right? You updated that in the filters.
Y-axis.
What is x-axis? Yeah.
Not looking the product name here.
The product name should be a value, right? On one
No,
side.
the x-axis, y-axis should be the value, which is the profit I put in.
So you're looking at a scattered area.
That's what you said, or is a bubble chart?
It's a bubble chart. Yeah, it's still
Seems scattered.
it is still size. Okay,
Size should be bubble or
where is that? You're talking about the product name, right?
Why you got it?
Let's start with product code and find out why. Let me check. This is a scatter diagram. It's a scatter diagram. We might have missed out something here. This one. Profit. We talk about sales price. This one. Product name. Look at the. Where is the product name?
Changes the role in this one.
It's alphabet only.
So if you wanted to make a change format, then you need to select X and change this format here. So here you need to have a month and year. Then to make these changes.
I don't see anything wrong with the way you did.
So here the capital column, when we go to the date, this formats of a single column and shows you now a month and a year. So having any highlighting basis, then you will take it in a different column. Okay. Now you got the single, now this is only date, now I can just shift this date and now. Now this is every date, year, and date from the year. But ensure that if you make this changes, this will be reflected here. So data type has to be changed first. That's all. Yeah, the legend is blank actually.
Okay.
So when we design out the visual,
We're missing something.
what is
I
the
also,
output?
I've taken revenue on a monthly basis. That's what I've updated. Now I want to showcase a revenue itself. So the,
You can just make this back.
I like it. This changing.
This is actually what the column you are taking as a stack bar.
Okay.
If I take as a bar chart,
Whatever is this format.
in this format. So what you are having it is a multiple information in a single June month itself. We have two
quite
three
tricky.
products which
It
are
takes
under that.
number as a
It's really,
X or Y, but it should
monthly
take
revenue and what is-
text.
Why it should have done that change? Yes.
This is color is changing based on the values.
But we have not set any.
No, it is not selling because based on the
That would be
legend,
product
you have
name there.
multiple values is there. So that has been fixing up here as a legend. If I just don't need that,
Product
now I
name.
can just
You
see
don't just show, so January, how much?
Excise is want to get it.
So
Hmm.
that does not contribute.
He's not able to.
you want the values.
And just the values from you.
Then you can just format it here. Okay.
Cool.
So what we want to make it changes with the visual, we have it here. But related to the data, we need to
Okay. I tried the.
Main product will go for country.
drill down. So you're drilling down from the quarter basis to the month basis.
In fact, I started with the year and.
Yeah.
The date is just this, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe it's something to do with the version, I guess.
Feet, okay.
Just drill down. So you first observe your data. On the data view. There was some data. Yeah, so. Okay, you have the date column in here. So let us go to the issue. Now, you wanted to bring in the data. When you drag this information that we insert, that will be a tablet. Now you got it, you can see the year, quarter, January. So this is what is as per the visual default it is shown to me. But I don't want it in this form. I want it to have a date basis. I can just make a selection here. Select the date. It shows you the date. But if I just have it in the date hierarchy. I can also sort it by what I wanted to sort here. But there is this. Or then you can bring the multiple tools.
Have to state it. That you want to focus only on one segment of data to
So
show.
now, what is that you want? You are trying to visual. Is the first one. So now you have visualized your total revenue and audit. Now you have to observe this screen also. So what it happens is that in the product legend it shows only product. That shouldn't be the actual impact. So now the product name is okay, this is in the legend. And then in the value we have total revenue. Axis what it has to be. Based on now what you are observing as a data. Based on the high category, what are the which product is highly having the revenue? It's showing that. This is actually a great visual. So if you make a selection here, now I can just see you can have, we are planning that we're having another session for the relationships. If there is no relationship, we have to build a relationship. So that's actually the third part. How that can be happen because if then you need to disconnect that. You can make it into a separate page.
Okay. So this one will be something you will be
Interlink. There will be a relationship in it. How this relationship is built? Based on your data.
So you want to have separate one?
You have it separate. Exactly. And this column,
Yeah, this one we have some problem. Yes, so you have to use
this is actually scattered diagram of what you are doing.
Okay.
So for scattered chart, what I did is that there will be some comparison. So over here,
I got it for I be unable to put it.
this is actually different column what we have made it here. It's a hierarchy column. There was a month number, but what you are doing here is to have some changes column here. Suppose let's say you have defined the column here. You have like an hierarchy of defined it.
Where I want to
what you have done is that you have done that. This hierarchy has been filled out. Some you you can just speak this. It's actually scatter diagram what you're trying to do. So there should be some comparison. So Excel y-axis should be filled. So I'm just doing with manufacturing price in my y-axis. And yeah, anything. Correct. Now you're comparing the sale price to the manufacturing price. Operating history. And then now only y-axis is being fixed. Now manufacturing price is there. I want to compare with some other. You can just say against the profit. So against the profit, which means that on your right it is going to be higher value. So what are the products which is in the higher value?
Okay. Unit for the date, right?
There is some date range which you have given.
So one of the features
If that is not available as a column, how can you print that? If you send for sales, we have some standard column, right? There is some sales happen for this year. For the next year, I can define that as a projected sales and do some calculations. But when you are having a date, you need a column created via the data should be there to develop that. We cannot, if you are going to do that with the formula or the custom column, it's a huge task.
Okay.
It cannot be a realistic manner also in process separation. So you continue with this.
Prasanna, you have just a question.
Just
Because let's choose very country and occupation position. So my selection is country what legend is. So
legend is what it means is this one. This is x-axis. This is y-axis. So that will depend y-axis. We have to define it with
Are you both from
the-
Microsoft? Or?
I open Cognizant.
If you
And this is to
the
be
default one. You cannot add the
Ah.
y-axis on it.